Welcome to the Q's and R's, question and responses for gait and walking. This is going to be fun. Question 1 from Trace Hawley 9221. Is walking beneficial even with altered biomechanics? I have osteoarthritis in my hip and can't straighten my back completely and walk with a limp. Absolutely. And correct the biomechanics. And that's the key. If you look at your joints, their joints are alive. Okay, that means if you change the force loading, they can remodel to a new movement. So this is why when you're walking, you've got to correct the biomechanics as best as you can. Now, knowing that there's arthritis in the hip and you can't straighten your back, we know the lumbar is involved. We also know that there's more than likely some type of thoracic deviation. So get an entire physical assessment by a good chiropractor that's going to take an x-ray, documents what's wrong, and take another x-ray to show you that it's fixed. Now, your pelvis is going to be unstable, so get a trochanter support. That's going to be ideal. You can also distract your knees. Look at our knee health video. Look at our hip health video. You can distract that hip. You can put heat on the joint before and after you walk, which will get blood to that area, and that's going to help fill it up because remember, all the joints are hydraulic. Make sure you stretch your calf. But by correcting the lumbar, thoracic, even cervical spine, because if that heads forward, you're talking about a 12 to 15 pound head. You know, you're talking about a 5 to 8 kilo head off to the side forward. That's going to change the force loading as well. And getting static and stress x-rays of the lumbar. So identify the actual problems. Don't suffer because osteoarthritis is from a trauma. And traumas can be healed. This is what one of the books I wrote was How to Reverse Arthritis. So, I mean, check out that if you change the force loading, change the nutrients to that joint, you alter the biomechanics of the feet, the calf, the knees, and distract that pelvis just by putting moist heat and a trochanter support, you're going to start to stabilize the gait. But even if your gait is off, you can do symmetrical movements to get both halves of the paravertebrals, the muscles that you don't have under conscious control, to fire off consistently, equally, and symmetrically. So there is ways, even though you're walking crooked at the start, the more you utilize those joints while you're correcting the altered biomechanics, okay, and you've got to address those. Don't just say, well, that's it, it's done. And I get people all the time that come in and say, oh, yeah, I have a disc bulge. Well, when was it diagnosed? 10 years ago. Okay, well, discs are alive. They can be corrected if there's movement, and you're only going to identify if the problem can be corrected if you're taking appropriate static and stress x-rays. So absolutely heal those joints, stabilize the pelvis, correct what the problem is, and then good way thing to exercise, okay, with joints that you haven't used in a while. If you're sore more than an hour after you're doing a new activity, you might be pushing it too much. If you're sore less than an hour, get back out there. Okay, but also remember the 5 keys to health. Make sure you've got good nerve supply to the lower extremity, the lumbar, the cervical spine. Make sure that you're doing exercises. And if you are doing the exercises and you're sore more than an hour, scale back. Less than an hour, scale up. Okay, and then look at proper nutrition, deep sleep, and prayer and meditation. And then you're going to have the maximum tissue regeneration. Question 2, Tails and Tails Crip 8387. I used to love Tales of the Crypt, by the way. That was fun when I was a teenager. I have one foot that is flat and one foot that is normal. Any advice for me? Thanks. Absolutely, Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, you've got a problem with the lumbar. Okay, that means that you've got compromised nerve supply. And so when you're looking at the feet are one of the number one things that I look at when patients come in for either wellness or some type of chronic illness or disease. Why? Because the nerves that supply the feet come out of the pelvis. And that pelvis houses half of that parasympathetic nervous system. So if you see flattening of the feet, bunion formation, there's a problem with resting, digesting, and repairing. So this means slow bowel movements or watery stools. Generally, sleep patterns are going to be interrupted. You've got to look at an autonomic dysfunction. The flat feet, one is normal, one is flat. means that there is absolutely some type of lumbar or pelvic compromised. So get an entire physical structure assessed. That means static and stress x-rays. And you'll see the x-rays on our site, one of the ones that I would recommend for just the standard patient. And then you stabilize the pelvis, because knowing that you have altered feet, you're going to have an altered gait. That for sure means the pelvis is going to be unstable. Your calves are going to be unstable. So look at our knee foot exercises, look at our foot health exercises, look at our hip exercises. And then by addressing all of that, even doing the toe curling exercises, you might not be living in an area that you can walk barefoot on the grass. Okay, but you can put your heel on the ground and use your toes to pick up like a paper towel or something, so you're curling and lifting. However, if you're doing that exercise when you still have a lumbar and pelvic issue, it's kind of like having a tourniquet on and then doing the exercise. It's not going to work as well. So get the physical stressors and neurologic stressors assessed, corrected, and get those feet working normally. From Mel C9827. I have bunions and gait issues. I've noticed my young child walking similar to how I walk. What should I do for my child? Let's do the same thing for you and your child. And this is huge because, I mean, our job as parents are to take care of our kids. And the biggest thing is with your bunion formation and gait issues, that is an underlying structural and neurologic issue. And children have a lot of neurologic issues now. So we have to, you know, when parents say, when should I bring my child in? And I say, well, you're going to wait till they're really sick and drag the body in, or let's get them checked now. 90% of the nerves that come off the spine, there's no pain fibers. That's why to ask someone, how do you feel? What's going on? And using that as your primary data source is not as good as doing a physical assessment, a chemical assessment. That's going to be thermography and live blood cell analysis. And a neurologic assessment, that's doing heart rate variability and surface electromyography. So when you're assessing the physical, chemical, and emotional stressors, then that way you have the maximum tissue production. Knowing that you have bunion and gait issues, and if your child also has something similar to that, they could have a leaky gut. That's where neurotransmitters are. That could lead to a toe walking gait. There could be a lot of different issues, but look at the entire structure. Know that bunions can go away and gait issues are there as an alarm to tell you there's a problem. It's not the problem, it's an alarm. So look at physical, chemical, emotional stressors, and your body has the best chance to recover. But man, thank God you're looking at this, because a lot of parents don't observe the children. They abdicate authority to the system, the medical system that we have, and they're working on a different philosophy where they give a chemical to alter your physiology. And I'm not a big fan of that. Now, from question 4, from Christine Amaru Warner, 4501. Can I go walking with my arthritic knee? Distract it first. Absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. But look at the different things that a knee, knowing that you have arthritis in the knees. Now, I fractured my right knee twice, my left one once. Once I fell off a 3-story building or at the top of the 2nd floor. And the second time I was hit by a car. So I'm very familiar with knee arthritis and how to work with it. So distract that knee first. But knowing that there's a problem with the knee, you've got to look at the pelvis. So this means walking with a trochanter support will help stabilize that pelvis and feel really, really good. Then distract that knee before and after an exercise. That means you're just sitting and you're just dangling the knee. Typically, we'll use between 10 and 20 pounds to distract, but you got to distract both knees. You're also going to have a lumbar issue, so you got to look at the lumbar. You may have a lateral thoracic deviation in addition to the arthritic knee, because having the arthritic knee means your body is going to shift away from the side of pain. And this is called an antalgic lean or an antalgic gait. Then look at heat. That's why I recommend getting the cheapest knee support. Like if you do heat during a distraction, moist heat, the wetter the better, the deeper the penetration. That's moist heat. So just a damp cloth in a microwave, or if you don't have a microwave, heat up some water and put the heat on there while you're distracting it. Then get the cheapest neoprene knee support you can get, just something that Velcros on there, not to stabilize the joint, because you don't want any hinges or metal on the sides. You just want something to add a little bit of heat there. You put heat there, baby. I mean, think of this. If I put a hot cloth on my arm and take it away, that's going to be red, because the brain senses that difference in temperature and increases the blood flow. That's fantastic, because all these joints are hydraulic. Then look at the diet, look at the nutrition. Look at natural pain relievers such as vitamin C and omega-3s. Fantastic. Avoid the ones that damage cartilage, like the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. And know that knee can be healed. If it bends, it can regenerate. So you have got to go in and look at the lumbar, pelvis, stabilizing the pelvis, clean up the diet, make sure the gut's healthy, and distract it. And then with any type of exercise, because I got some great patients. This one guy gave the neck curve exercise too. And normally I recommend that you do 100 of them a day. And he came in and he goes, yeah, man, my neck's really sore. And I said, well, what are you up to? I'm up to about 3,000. Okay, that's a little too much. So to work with a joint that's been damaged, if you're sore more than an hour after exercise, you might be pushing it too much. If you're sore less than an hour, you may be able to do more. But putting heat on it, stabilizing it, distracting it before and after an exercise, and having all of this directed by a good chiropractor, you're going to have great results. Question 5 from Happy Chick 123. Because of my hip or lack of, and my leg being shorter as I walk, I sort of twist and lean to the right, causing pain right up to my shoulder blades. Anything else I can do while I'm waiting to see my doctor again? Yes, Happy Chick. I love your name. Have them do a thorough assessment. Okay, and this means you're looking at the cervical spine, because if you are leaning off to the right, I'm not sure if your leg is short, because a lot of times people have come to me and they say they were diagnosed with a short leg. And you're talking anything really less than 10 millimeters, okay, like about a ½ inch, is clinically significant. Your body's going to adapt to that really, really well. But now pelvic being torque, antalgic lean, the body shifting off to the side, having compromised lumbar area for sure, knowing that you're walking crooked, that's going to be an unstable pelvis. If the leg's an inch or about 25 millimeters short, then you may want to think about a lift or a heel lift. But, even then, you've got to restore the biomechanics of the knee, because I've seen leg length change up to 10 millimeters. Okay, by restoring the arch of the foot, by restoring the cartilage production, by regenerating the knee, but obviously by altering and stabilizing the pelvis, you can change how that leg attaches or how you walk on the earth. So look at everything, but have your doctor, number one, assess your entire, that means the cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, with static and stress x-rays. And then look at the hip joint, look at both knees, both hips, both feet, because you can have a one-side symptom, but it's going to be a two-sided problem. And all of that you can do right away. You get a trochanter support and get a thorough assessment, but make sure your doctor is using x-rays as an objective analysis. Question 6 from J Hook 4828. How do you cure plantar fasciitis and pelvic instability? Stabilize the pelvis. I know that's just like it's like, huh? Well, first you got to look at pelvic instability has not a problem, but it's the fire alarm telling you that there's going to be a lumbar, thoracic, even cervical spine can lead to pelvic instability. But knowing that you have plantar fasciitis, just remember you've got arches that are maintained in the foot by the muscles. If you have on the bottom of that foot is the fascia, and it's on the plantar surface, so they call it plantar fascia. Itis means inflammation, and you're not going to get plantar fasciitis if you have good intrinsic muscles or muscles inside of the foot that are operating correctly. When you compromise the lumbar spine, that foot flattens out, straining that plantar fascia, and it's used beyond its design in that case, then it inflames because inflammation is from tissue damage. So to correct plantar fascia, you've got to look at the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical. That means static and stress x-rays, stabilizing the pelvis, utilizing a trochanter support, fixing the calf muscle, looking at the biomechanics of the knees, look at muscle imbalance of the quadricep. That can also be an issue. I am never going to work on plantar fasciitis unless I look at the knees, the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine, because you've got to look at the entire thing. So think of this. Think if you were in some type of high school sports or sliding down a swing when you were 9, okay, or a slide, and your head is laterally deviated. That's going to change the entire force loading of the body. So some of these past traumas, they didn't send you to the hospital, but they may be evident on a static and stress x-rays. So by correcting all of that, because once, like the trochanter support that I recommend to stabilize the pelvis, you're not going to need that for forever. Okay, once you get the lumbar corrected, then beautiful. Then you can throw the trochanter support away. But in the meantime, you need that, may need that to get over the edge while you're restoring the lumbar discs or any force loading in the thoracic spine. Now, if your question wasn't answered here, go to the Dr. BVIP site, and God bless you. Stay healthy, my friends.